Hey everyone, you're listening to episode 101 of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. As always, as usual, I'm your host, Tom Detloff. Tonight, back with me is Joe Christiana, Max Cook, and the counselor, Adam Shoulder. Tom Payson is also back with us, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Tonight, we're going to discuss Dennis Hopper's film Colors and Taylor Hackford's Blood In, Blood Out, all part of our 2-episode Bloods, Crips, and Vatos. Vatos, Max.
Galino Udale, bitch, motherfucker. Fucking Tom Detloff shit. Pull his white panties down and look inside and see what he's done down there, bitch.
I feel like I'm in the kitchen at work.
Tom Detloff, life cereal at midnight, motherfucker. Stop eating that shit, bitch. Stop smoking, home.
Para siempre.
Trinidad Silva, motherfucker.
Oh, man. Anyway, we're still doing our post 100 episode celebration. Guys, it was great talking to everyone about their favorite moments from the past 100 episodes. Tonight, we're definitely going to go a little bit south like we do here on the show sometimes. We're going to talk about our least favorite moment of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. And Joe, do you want me to kick things off or what, dude? I mean, should I?
It's your call.
I have a feeling I'm going to kick it off, and then
ahead.
it's just going to be a Tom Detloff discussion for 30 minutes.
Uh-oh. You better choose wisely then.
All right, stand back. Without a doubt, my least favorite moment on this show was recently, and it was probably the last 20 to 25 minutes of our Ex Machina discussion. This was the most...
I don't even know what it was.
Listen, I'm going to tell everybody, it was the most dreadful 20 to 30 minutes of my entire life. I was harassed. I was bullied. I was kicked. I was kicked. I was destroyed on air by my co-hosts. And now this is when I really started.
Wait, by your co-host or co-host? Plural?
No, it was everybody except Adam, of course. Adam was fair.
Hey, man, I come out of it shiny clean. I may not remember if it's a theater or a drive-in, but no matter. I got a shit-eating grin and all is well.
Adam did nothing wrong.
Of course not. He never does.
But my other two co-hosts that day were digging into me so bad. Now, this is when it all started in my head, Joe, that I really don't know if I could do this anymore, if I could take this abuse anymore, if I could...
I don't even know what it was.
Abuse?
Yeah, it's abuse. And if you listen to it, I beg any of you to go onto YouTube, even our listeners, go onto YouTube and just get to the end of that discussion and listen to the pure torture I must endure by these...
What were we saying to? All right,
Yeah,
this is going to
not
turn
about
into a
love,
therapy
Tom.
session. There's no way that this is going to turn into. Quickly, hurry up! Come on.
It was everything, Joe. It was.
What were we doing? What were we even
It was
talking about?
my life, my diet, my inability to take things on the show to another level. My just my whole
We
existence.
love you, and at the time, we thought you lived life incorrectly.
It was.
Well, I know that you were struggling mightily with it, Tom, and I know that we've talked at length about a lot of this stuff.
And I can't do that all the time, guys. I can't do it. I
understand it, Tom, but
here and I can't get kicked.
do you know that it's so difficult? It's so difficult being friends with somebody who can't take control of their own life.
Or see
How
the
it hurts.
potential that they
How
have.
it honestly, Tom. How it hurts. How it hurts to see it. To see it.
Well, what am I not taking control of exactly, Joe?
Well, your health is number one.
You don't give a
right?
shit.
And I
Health.
wouldn't talk about your health because I know that that's something you don't want to talk about.
You don't
But
give a
as
shit
far as
about
I'm
it.
concerned, the show is fair game on the show. Like we should be talking about the show on the show. There's no reason why not to.
Whatever.
So like your health and your financial situation, whatever, I would definitely stay away from that if you didn't want to talk about it. The problem is that you don't shut it down. You talk about it. So I let Max lead on that.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tom.
I giggle.
I don't talk about it. I answer questions.
You're answering questions. Yeah, you're answering questions. But that said, it hurts me. Here's the
It
position
hurts
that
me
you. Here's the
What are you
here's
talking
and
about, Max? You don't even know what he's gonna say.
I'm being completely sincere, Tom.
Did you just hear that? This is what I'm talking about.
I know.
You're like, Tom, I'm hurt by this, and Max is like, I'm hurt by it too. He doesn't even know what you're gonna say.
No, well, of course not. He's a kangaroo lawyer. All right. So honestly, Tom, I know in my heart how much this show means to you, and this is important to be talking about right here at the 100th episode, right? And I know that. I know that if it goes away, you are not going to be happy. And I know that not only that, but it's going to make me unhappy. So, like, it's very difficult seeing you not taking it under control, like not owning it and being in control of your own destiny.
Jesus, Tom.
Basically, Tom, it's not that hard. But after 4 years, I can only speak for myself. If something was really important for me, I would not want anybody.
But how do you know how
it in the hands of anybody? I would do whatever it needed to be. That if something was really important to me, that it would be in my hands as much as I could possibly make it. So you've put me in the position of being responsible for the thing that's probably number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in importance in your life. So if I let it go, I'm failing you. Do you understand the burden that you're placing on me?
It's not even about that. It's just about the.
It is about that, Tom. Listen, it is about that. Because it's about it for me.
For you, yeah.
Yes. So what is it about?
You're saying that this is like like number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I'm like, I don't even think it might not even be that way anymore.
You don't. Yeah, I think that it is. And if you're honest with yourself, I think you will say it's probably number like 5 or 6 for me. And I have a fucking family. I mean, it's probably right up there with me for me. So if you're saying that it's not, I don't think you're being honest with you. I don't think I'm being honest with yourself.
I know I've been doing this for 4 years, and I don't know why it continues at this point.
Because I'm not because I care about you.
No, I'm just saying I don't know why
You're not hearing what I'm saying. It's continuing because I care about you.
I don't, I hear you, but like what I don't know if
4 years ago, Tom, you said let's do a podcast, and I knew that you would like to do a podcast, and I knew that I would enjoy it as well. And I said, I'll edit the first 3 or 4 shows. Producing the show is not something that I'm interested in.
I thought you said 300 or 400.
What?
I thought you said the first 300 or 400 episodes.
Oh, 3, right. So now I gave you a lot. I've been practically begging you to take control of it, and even saying that I would give it still continue to do half of what the show is. That's why we're like this season is hobbling along on half of what it should be. And I think that everybody here, with the exception of maybe Lieutenant Payson here, thinks that this show deserves to be more than hobbling along.
All right, Joe. What do you want me to say, Joe? I just don't know if I feel like doing it anymore, though.
And I think that is a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out.
It's a cop-out because you don't think that you can take control.
I just find myself not having as much fun as I used to doing.
Do some thinking on it, Tom. And you're the only one who can really answer.
I am doing thinking. I am thinking a lot about it.
Okay,
I am.
All right, then if you don't want to do it, then I guess we'll stop. You're the host.
Right,
so.
right. Well, I'm thinking about all those things. I am.
Okay. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face, man. Don't.
It's not like that, Joe.
Okay.
It's just a matter of personally whether I'm enjoying it. Doing even this. I don't know.
That last segment, though, see, when we're not talking about your issues, I can understand you not liking this right now. I totally would understand that, absolutely. and I wouldn't have brought it up if it came up. So there's no reason, there's no way that we can't talk about these things, like, honestly, when they come up, right? I mean, that's the nature of the show. So I apologize because I don't want to talk about things that you're not comfortable talking about.
So I'm assuming that your least favorite TCRMP moment is the fact that you're still editing the show.
My least favorite is telling you that, you know, I'm going to edit the show until the end of September, saying this last summer. Right. And knowing for a fact that it kills me that for whatever block you have, you're not going to allow yourself to take control of it. And it's going to fail and go away. And that is maybe my least favorite moment. And I gave you, I'm trying to give you every tool that you can to do it.
Yeah, but I just, in my life right now, I have like bigger problems than worrying about all this right now. Like I do. And I know you do too. I hear you.
These are a lot. That's a lot of excuses, Tom.
Your thinking is so fucked, Tom.
It's so fucked.
Insulting. Dude. This should be your salvage. This should be your salvation and your joy. Even if we take you on about all of your fucking bullshit, the fact that this is not your go-to happiness, how much fun we're having, a bunch of fuckers sitting around on Skype jibber-jabbering about movies in our lives, that you would shit on this. This is salvation for you, man.
Not only that, dude, Tom, if you were to take these steps, and I promise you they're not as big steps as you're thinking that they are, if you would take these steps, you would turn your whole perspective about everything around. Like everything would change. Because you wouldn't have to worry about if I'm being a dick and don't feel like putting out the show or not.
I don't worry about that.
Well, that's a little insulting too. That you just assume that I'm gonna continue
Tommy can be a little insulting.
No, but he's saying that I'm not.
But
he's assuming that I'm worrying about something that I'm not worried about. Like,
so you wouldn't care if I just one day decided that, you know what?
What could I do if
Tom? Joe recently reached out.
We're telling you what you could do.
Joe recently reached out to you. He said, "Tom, what are you doing? I'm coming down." He came down within 2 hours. You guys had an awesome time. You watched movies.
And it was great for me. But he was helping me out of a rough time in that case, basically.
What was your rough time?
Well, it's something I'm not talking. I didn't have.
Oh no! Now you don't get to talk. Fucking roosterhead. What's your problem?
Nothing, man. I was having a little bit of difficulty.
All right,
things are looking up now.
But the point is, Tom helped you out. Now you're trying to help Tom out. We can't force Tom to keep this show going. This is up to Tom.
Right.
I know.
Tom ends the show. He's a fucking dick about it, but he ends the show and that's it.
Why
I'm going to move on and do my thing.
That's unfair that if that was a decision I made, that I would be considered a dick for doing that.
Because you would rather go and talk to
that, I'm a dick.
I don't think you're a dick.
You would rather go and talk to a bunch of genetically inferior human mutations. They will not stimulate your brain the way we do here on the cutting room. They will not stimulate your brain. You have a brain, you fucking dumb shit.
I wouldn't be angry at you, and I wouldn't think that you were a dick. I would be sad, honestly. Yeah. I would be not sad. I don't know.
Kill it, Tom.
I would be bummed out, man. I'd be bummed. I'd be bummed because I like doing the show. I'd be bummed because I know that you like doing the show, and you, for some reason, you can't open a fucking...
Go ahead and kill it, Tom. Kill it. Do it. Be that guy. How cool would you be if you killed it?
Could you guys not kill it till after you air the episode that I'm on?
Oh, my stepdad is being privy to the issues that we have been fighting for 4 years.
Now I have to worry about his feelings too.
You know what,
about him.
Let me tell you, coming from my point of view, I thought that you guys are big time. You know, the way Max talks about you, and
Max talks about you.
Max doesn't care.
Max is
care
excited.
1,000,000 times over.
He doesn't even share episodes.
He's excited.
I don't share episodes because auditorily the show is an inferior product. If this show sounded like it's brilliance, I would be jerking off to it all over social media. But you motherfuckers choose to not let this show sound the way it deserves.
And Max, he wants me to take over the controls.
That's not true. We are doing the best.
You are
We're
doing
doing
better,
the best
Joe.
we can.
You are doing better.
Better. It's all relying on the quality of the whoever's on the line with us with the mics and their connections. That's
Adam
really all.
doesn't know if he sees a movie in a movie theater or a drive-in. And when he was engineering Mimosa, it sounded like art.
That's different.
But you guys were recording.
We weren't
He
over the
doesn't-
internet.
Max, you don't get it, Max. You just don't get it.
They can't understand.
He can't understand. It's okay, Max. I'll write you an email and I'll explain it to you.
Oh man.
All
Joe,
right.
besides me personally being disappointing to you constantly
Okay. Yes.
on air, what's your least
All right.
favorite?
Okay, last episode we went over everybody's favorite
Right.
movie moment,
Moment,
right?
right.
On the show. Your favorite moment was on episode 3 when Max joined the show, right? That was my least favorite moment.
Awesome.
Joe, I ruined everything.
So you're going opposite.
That was
Poor Joe!
your happiest moment was my least favorite.
Oh, Joe.
Is it make you happy?
What's that?
Was it just
Yeah, because it made you happy. No, my least favorite moment was that business with Pace and that Manborg thing.
Really?
Fucking-
That was
yeah, of course.
Explain that.
Yeah, please.
I don't even remember. I was just so angry about the whole fucking thing. I
Joe, you get very angry.
I do. I have anger. This is a good outlet for me. Actually,
Listen, in all fairness to Dave Pace, though, Joe, you didn't finish watching the movie that he signed.
Okay, yes, I know.
And that was that.
Well, in all fairness to me, I got the password to the movie at 11:30 while I was working of my full-time
The
job,
movie was
and then I
40
had to
minutes
cook my
long.
Tom, come on. You can't give somebody a half a day and I watched half the movie.
Oh my God!
You
Do
know,
you guys remember when we interviewed fucking Matt Farnsworth and what an asshole he was?
Yeah.
And do you remember Dave Pace taking that dude on? And
Yeah.
it was
the
so
second time. That was the second time Matt was on. He was on twice.
Oh my God, that was so fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't really remember that one.
If you can believe it, I was the mediator. All right, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Dave. But Matt, how do you like? I was like,
I hope Max, your worst moment is the one that I'm thinking of. I hope it's
yeah,
The worst. Is that the worst?
it's the worst.
What is it, Max?
You know Adam doesn't have a worst moment.
Hey man, everything's
Well,
great.
There's a show that was my least favorite show, but honestly, I don't even remember if I was on it or not, so I don't know.
What show?
No, it was the punk. Yeah, the punk show. I was disappointed. I felt that that we could have delivered a better show, and it just didn't happen. But that's me. I love most of the shows, but my least favorite moments, honestly, this is going to take it back right to what we were just talking about. But every time, Tom, that you talk about wanting to end the show is my least favorite moment of the show.
Jeez.
Because I seriously, dude, I love doing the show, and I am probably the busiest person I know, which is half the reason I don't even remember if I see movies in drive-ins or movie theaters. There's so much going on, and I make a dedicated effort to carving out, in this case,
He really
16
does.
hours to watch.
He really does.
Blood in,
Yeah,
blood out. I
fair
was
enough.
up till
Tom,
2
he
in
was
the morning
sweating it.
last night. I was
Yeah,
up till
I
2
was
in the
up late
morning.
too watching the Blood and
I'm
Blood Out.
watching.
Tom,
I'm watching
Adam
the
was sweating it.
colors.
This guy's trying to build his business. He's trying to continue to save the world by making crazy people happier.
Right.
And he's worried about getting all the films in, so he's in time for this show.
Right.
That's got to tell you something.
Yeah, he's dedicated.
I've written a 3-page, intro to this film. I'm on the time here, and I do that because I believe in it and I love it, and the experience of doing it is so rewarding. But beyond that, I believe in the show itself, and what I said in the last episode is I still feel that this show is on the upswing. I think it's only going to get better and better and better and have more and more potential. And yeah, I would be bummed. I wouldn't be mad at you. I'd get it. Listen, I've started projects. Cook will tell you I had a script written and a movie in production ready to go, just a movie we're making ourselves.
Right.
And after the first day of filming, I actually pulled the plug on it because it wasn't even close to what I needed it and wanted it to be. And, there were a lot of reasons for that. And I felt like a dick because a lot of people, Cook and our lead actress and some other people, had put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. And it was like, sorry guys, I got to do what I got to do. I'm not feeling it. It's not going to pay off. But I believe
it was still a good education, and it was still a good experience.
And I learned a lot because then the next time I went to do something, I realized, you can't do it with a crew of 2. You need like a crew of like 30 to try to do something, the right way that I wanted, the way I saw it in my head. But my point being is that, I get it, and I wouldn't consider you a dick or, anything negative about you at all if you walked away. I'm just hoping you don't.
He's a little bit of a dick.
I'm just hoping you don't, because I think it's a great show. I think, it's fun doing. I think people enjoy it. I think it has more potential.
Stroked off.
What are you talking about?
Now you're getting stroked off. You're sitting back with your bottle of water and your dress shirt. Got your joint
Max
out.
doesn't like that.
Listen,
Hey, everybody stroke me off now.
yeah, right. Yeah, instead of fucking stroking you off constantly, which is what life should be about.
God forbid we talk about somebody else other than Max.
Exactly.
Yeah, go back to me.
Jesus
Adam.
Christ! I opened last week's episode. I give him a 5-minute fucking homage, and now this guy just says one or two nice things about me. He's pissed off.
Adam, you're a counselor. You're really a counselor. Like you're in the field. I don't know what your official title is.
I'm
Adam.
I'm a case manager and personal coach.
Okay. Are you allowed to weigh in on Tom's issue with the show?
Joe?
Oh my God! Best radio ever. Let's go.
Like,
Adam,
I don't know.
Give it to him.
Now I have issues.
How do I know? I don't know, Tom. I have no idea. But there's obviously a block somewhere. There's something. If you're genuinely not getting joy out of this, then I think why everyone is confused by that is because everyone else is having a great time, and it seems like you're having a great time, and we all want to have a great time together. So if you're not having a great time doing this, it would be, why? And maybe that's a problem that can be solved.
A lot of my decision was riding on how this experience for the past 2 episodes would go.
And it's been fucking great, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm just saying. Max, give me your least favorite moment during your tenure here at the Cutting Room Movie Podcast.
Oh, hands down, Deliverance with Billy. My relationship with Billy.
And that is
I
the
thought it was
problem.
gonna be something different.
Because you two rarely even work together on the show.
Well, I just really admire him, and I love his brain, and I just think he's a dick. And I really try to bond with him, and he took a life drawing class, and I got really excited because he posted a picture of it on Twitter of his life drawing. So I countered it with my picture of my life drawing. And I even said, Billy, you're such a better life drawer than I am. I paid him a compliment. No response. He's just a dick. Billy is a dick.
Is he a bigger dick than me?
No, I love you, but Billy's a dick. And it's hard with him because I like him, and I like the fact that we got past that, and we want to. But the fact that he doesn't listen to the show, I think is really insulting. It's just like everyone's stroking Billy off and putting their fucking finger up his asshole, but he's nothing but a dick.
He used to listen to the show, Joe, a long time ago, but
I think he listens to the show, to be honest with you. I think that he doesn't like to admit that he listens to the show for some weird Billy reason. Honestly, Billy I think reason, that's Billy in person. I think it's a little bit different than he's got his social awkward. I think he's socially awkward would
Absolutely.
Are you saying he has Asperger's?
No, I don't. I just think that socially he's not. He's got social. It's just, he's a different kind of social.
Let me tell you something.
Because of his past
when Bill Shetty did a show, he had me and Billy on as his guests.
Right.
And I was so excited to bond with Billy. There was nothing. I got nothing from Billy.
And this is. I mean, you two were working together on this show.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Billy, you and I, we have our thing. We don't have a thing. And he'll randomly crap on Facebook.
Well, I was just hanging out with him this weekend, Max, and honestly, he paid you a huge compliment saying about you being on the show. To be honest with you, like he was like, Max is like the only interesting guy on the show.
Is that true? He is so bizarre. Then
He said that
only
Mike's the
thing
only
that
interesting
hates-
guy.
He was very drunk. I don't know if he meant it as the only interesting guy, you know what I mean? But he said I think he just meant it as and he didn't. I don't think he ever even considered that I might even tell you. I think he just said it, to be honest with you.
Well, listen,
Billy. Look, Billy has not been socialized the way that most Americans have been socialized. I could say that. I don't know how much he's comfortable talking about with his his upbringing and all that stuff, and I don't feel it's my place to say it, but I do think that part of him wanting to be on the show, and I know for a fact that he likes to be on the show, and I know that part of the reason why he does the show in the first place is to overcome some of the social awkwardness that he's always coped with or dealt with.
He's personally trying to,
Absolutely. And I know sometimes it's hard to hear that or know that, but I will tell you.
I believe that. And to me, in getting to know him really well over the past 4 years and being around him a few times, at parties, drinking or whatnot, I think when he's doing that, Joe, even when he's just having drinks with people, I think he's making a really big effort.
It's tough for him. I know what
you're saying.
It was
he came to my apartment. That was like, you know what I'm saying? On his own.
And I
that was a lot.
As he gets older, I think that he's really enjoying the fact that he can normalize, like he can have normal friendships with people. Like I think so. Yeah. So there's stuff going on back there. I'm sure if he does listen to this, he won't like he
I love you, Billy.
No, I love Billy. I'm telling you, I love him. And I feel like I wish we were closer. That's what's frustrating. I love his brain, but
it
just feels like call him.
I'll tell you what.
What are we going to talk about? His top knot?
Adam, let's work on me and Sherry Strollo. We'll work on Max and Billy.
All right. Well, let's make those things happen.
Let's get it done. We need to get
Cutting Room Movie Podcast, bringing people
Tom,
together.
Last week, I want to retract my favorite moment. My favorite moment on the show was when, oh God, what's his fucking name? Hart Fisher yelled.
That's another worst moment for me.
You have to go listen to the Halloween show from last year where Max gets into the argument.
It was from 2 years ago.
2 years.
He was such a dick.
Remember when I jokingly asked if his girlfriend was killed by Blackula?
Killed by what?
Blackula.
Yes.
The whole show came to a halt.
Well, that's an example of a guest that, like, instantly you want to respect them right off the bat. You want to give them all the questions. You want to get into them. Right. But the minute you realize that they are such fucking assholes and they're only in it for themselves, they only are there to promote, don't come on a show if you only wish to promote. Come on a show if you wish to talk about your life.
One thing I'm
not interested in your promotions.
Yeah. One thing I've learned, man, is that the people that are low on the totem pole, they're the worst, Max. They're worse than the people high up, man, because the people high up, they're humbled, they, and really appreciate their craft. They appreciate their success for the most part. But these people that have this fantasy, this pretend success, this bullshit in their head where they think that people actually care about them is just ridiculous.
Tom, case in point, you know how much I loved a certain filmmaker in Oregon. Yeah. And you and I had so many back and forths with that guy. And he was playing us like he was Spielberg.
Sure.
He was playing us like, oh, yeah, hey guys, I can't. Yeah, I'm going into production. Yeah, I'm in the office. The truth is, Tom, I know what his office is. It's his living room and his laptop. There's no office. The fact that he plays us like we are ants you can stomp out is
pathetic.
We are giving him I was not, to be fair to you, Tom, I was giving him attention. Sure. And I was saying, I really respect what you've done. I really want to talk to you. I really want to get you on the show. I felt like a dirty little whore. Like,
who is this?
Should we name
you
him?
can't go on and on
gonna
about
name
this
him?
and that's
Yeah.
it.
Jason Hawkins.
Yeah, he directed
what-
15 murders.
Oh.
He was such an asshole to us, Joe.
He played.
I think that guy commented on our YouTube page, actually.
No, that was somebody else. The guy who directed the what was the Max that Halloween episode, the movie that Hart Fisher was in, Serial Killer Culture. That was the name of the film. The director of Serial Killer Culture went onto our YouTube video and wrote something of the like where he was like, why would you talk about a movie that you hate?
Right.
Like, blah, blah, blah. You know, that was a different filmmaker.
I have tickled
sorry.
Jason Hawkins' balls for so long. He had a new film that came out, and it was on Redbox. I filmed myself at Redbox renting his film and posted it on his Facebook wall, and it was like, yeah, you should have done that. It's like, dude, you've got to play it cool. You've got to be humble. You've got to be...
You need to be Eduardo Sanchez, motherfucker.
Eduardo fucking Sanchez.
That's the guy.
That's
the guy.
Eduardo's beautiful. Eduardo directed the Blair Witch Project.
Hey, one of the biggest horror movies.
And we got him on the show, and he gave us such a beautiful interview, and he was so nice to us. This is the way you have to be, Tom.
Right. Be like Brian Usna. What about him? He comes on here. This is a guy who did Reanimator, for Christ's sake. You didn't get that bullshit from a guy like that.
Oh, my God.
These fucks.
Get over yourselves, you motherfuckers. Because you know what? Your flame of success is dimming.
Nobody cares. Pathetic.
You know how much content there is out there? And we're sitting there jerking your fucking dick off? Guess what? What comes out of your cock? Flour.
Anyway, Adam, it's your turn. Colors.
I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking. Joe and Tom and Adam be talking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Colors. Adam, let's hear what you got, brother.
He's a mysterious cyborg who won't stop boasting about his brand new backyard bubble tub. A chemical zombie who just had a bionic eyeball installed in his skull. No joke. Lock up your Latin daughters, for Adam's shoulder, a.k.a. the Counselor, has arrived.
Sean Penn is a badass. He was a badass when I first met him when he was in the guise of Jeff Spicoli in 1982's Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the seminal movie of my 13th year. He continued to be a badass straight through the 80s with a string of intense performances in movies such as Bad Boys, Racing with the Moon, The Falcon and the Snowman, At Close Range, Casualties of War, and the film that is today's topic of discussion, Colors. Penn's characters were troubled and dark, and his performances powerful and passionate. Moody, deep, complex characters that somehow resonated with my San Fernando Valley white boy teen angst. Perhaps most significant to me, however, he was fucking Madonna. Badass. Soon, we, the admiring public, saw a darker and badassier side of Penn. A 4-pack-a-day, chain-smoking dark soul who would occasionally spend some time in jail for punching the random cocksucking paparazzi in the face. An unabashed and shameless liberal who would write open letters to the president or publicly speak his mind regarding his feelings towards various Hollywood celebrities and establishments, never mincing his words. He had a voice, an opinion, and he used his platform as a celebrity to make those opinions known. Okay, maybe a little intense at times, but still, badass. Fuck, he's such a badass. He hangs out with De Niro and Nicholson and Knoxville, and even named his son Hopper after his bestie Dennis. He's worked with just about every living legendary actor and director. He writes, he directs, he wins Oscars for his acting. He even narrated the personal and heartfelt documentary Dogtown and Z-Boys, chronicling the skateboard culture that blossomed in the streets of Venice and in Penn's hometown of Santa Monica in the late 1970s. Badass. Did I mention he's fucked Madonna? My wife, Vanessa, spent a summer living up at Skywalker Ranch with P.T. Anderson and crew working on There Will Be Blood. Sean Penn and his crew were up there too, across the hall, working on Penn's Into the Wild. The bunch of them would all have lunch together every day, and every day Penn would mercilessly taunt P.T. and crew, challenging them to a game of croquet, insisting that they would wipe the floor with them. His taunts were quiet and intense, jibes gliding out of his mouth on eye-stinging waves of nicotine breath. Pointing with yellow fingers, his leathery face twisted into a mocking smirk, cajoling P.T.'s gang into taking a bite at the croquet apple. Perhaps P.T. was afraid of engaging in an activity where Penn would be holding a large mallet. Perhaps he was just too busy making his film. But there was no croquet showdown at Skywalker Ranch that summer. Just Penn, standing alone on the grass, large, colorful balls at his feet, calling out to P.T., calling out to anyone who would dare. He would take on all comers. Badass. Earlier this year, working for Rolling Stone magazine, he clandestinely traveled to Mexico to interview the fugitive Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, head of the Sinaloa drug cartel. The interview ultimately led directly to the capture of El Chapo, yet Penn actually took a lot of heat for this in the press, by the Mexican government, and even by the Obama administration. Why? Because he is a badass. He may be the biggest, baddest badass whatever was. Say it with me, guys. Come on, take off your mutes and say it with me.
Badass!
Badass. Correct. So I first saw Colors in the theaters in 1988. Jeff Spicoli could do no wrong in my eyes. If he was in a movie, I was in the theater. I gladly paid my $3.75 at the Parthenia Theaters in Northridge or the Topanga Twin in Woodland Hills, grab a box of Milk Duds and settle in. I was a heady, nerdy film student when I saw Colors, and I sat in awe of Penn and Duvall. Shit, just the fact that Dennis Hopper directed this film meant that I loved it walking in, okay? The second time I saw Colors was 3 nights ago. All right. I kind of wish I hadn't seen this movie again, but listen, I'm not going to elaborate on what didn't work for me in this film. I'm not going to talk about Herbie Hancock's phenomenal but awesomely inappropriate score. I'm not even going to mention the fact that the prominent gang in this film is comprised of Latinos and African Americans and one redheaded white guy. Didn't Hopper ever see West Side Story? That's just not how gangs work, Dennis. Come on. When you're a jet all the way. So I'm not going to dwell on the maybe a little lack of authenticity or the tacit glorification of police brutality or the fact that Penn actually looks to the sky after the death of his partner and screams, "No!" I'm not going to talk about any of that, okay? I'm going to talk about what I liked about this film, what I actually loved about this film, namely Sean Penn and Robert Duvall. These men are masters of their craft, and Hopper let these actors do what they do best. Hopper also manages to create something of a reverse love letter to his city. He exposes the gritty underbelly, the dark corners and shadowy vistas of his sprawling megalopolis. In a pre-Rodney King and pre-Riot Los Angeles, before gangsta was marketable. Now, I grew up in the city, and I remember those times well. Drive-by shootings were daily happenings. Graffiti and other signs and symbols establishing gang territories were evident throughout the city. And stories about gang-related deaths proliferated the local news every night. The shit was real. Now, at the polls of screenwriter Michael Schiffer's moral compass, we have Penn as Danny Pac-Man McGavin and Duvall as Bob Hodges. Pac-Man, as a young LAPD officer, is just transferred into the LAPD's CRASH program, Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums. The elder statesman of this gang intervention task force is the steady, seen-it-all-before Hodges. As you might expect, Pac-Man is a testosterone-fueled hotshot bent on bringing down the gang members one at a time by any means necessary. Hodges, however, has developed relationships with the gangbangers, building the necessary trust and rapport to establish a sense of control over the streets, even if Hodges' perceived control is built upon an over-falsity of confidence. Duvall, as always, seamlessly slips into the subtleties of his character. With his voice barely above a whisper, he is both good cop and bad cop, showing the cool-headed compassion and calm wisdom that comes from years on the job, balanced with a don't even try to fuck with me attitude. and Duvall is spot on and in his milieu. Maybe the gangbangers fear him or are smart enough to stay out of his way, but all seem to respect Hodges. However, his old school and perhaps a bit naive street karma philosophy doesn't sit well with his new partner. Penn's Pac-Man provides a balance and an alternative outcome for the Ridgemont High dropout Jeff Spicoli. It's been like 5 years. He's cut his hair, took the GED, made it through the police academy. More brawn than brain, Penn's portrayal of Pac-Man embodies the ego, the hot-headedness, and the black or white thinking that sometimes seems to come with the badge and sometimes comes as a result of it. Naturally, Hopper gives us the conflict you would expect between these two characters and their respective viewpoints, but seems to do so without taking a side. He levels the playing field and he blurs the lines. Good cop, bad cop, LAPD, gangbanger, white, black, Hispanic, right, wrong. Hopper just lets the story unfold in a day-in-the-life fashion, gritty, dirty, and unsentimental. Perhaps the only point of view Hopper takes is at the end, when Hodges himself succumbs to a gangbanger's bullet. Violence prevails, the old guard falls, anarchy wins. Maybe we're all doomed. With Hodges and what he represents dead and gone, it'll be up to the youth, it appears, to carry on, personified by Pac-Man. So will he continue on his path, or will the lessons learned shift his own internal moral compass? Early on in the film, Hodges, sensing Pac-Man's run-and-gun attitude, shares a little parable with his feisty partner. While Pac-Man ogles Maria Conchita Alonso from afar while she seductively leans over a taco counter, Hodges tells of a young bull and an old bull. The young bull looks down the hill at a herd of cows in a field and says, "Hey, let's run down that hill and fuck one of those cows." The old bull replies, "No, let's walk down that hill and fuck them all." Maybe the message lands with the preoccupied Pac-Man, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the film, Pac-Man shares the story with his new partner. Does the message land with him? Does Pac-Man really understand the message? Does it even matter? Don't know. But I do know this. Sean Penn is fucking Madonna. Again. Badass.
Excellent intro, Adam. I mean, seriously, that was really well done. Joe, don't you agree? That was a good one, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really dug that.
For a tough one to write.
Absolutely, and you really did a great job. And let's talk immediately about what you discussed at the top of the intro and what you come back to at the end, and that is the fact that Sean Penn is totally badass. And if there was an ode to Penn that this show needed to get done, you did it, and it was absolutely beautiful, Adam. And let's not forget, he was also friends with the late great Charles Bukowski.
Oh, no, and then some. Absolutely, that dude.
Yeah,
yeah, that was my love letter to Sean Penn. I was happy for the opportunity. Well, thanks, Cook.
Yeah, it was well deserved. Joe, it's so funny too, because we've talked about, one topic we've never done here was we never just concentrated on an actor and like devoted 2 episodes to a particular actor. And Sean Penn he would be one of those guys you could do that for, because he is to me, watching films since I was a kid, and Adam, starting with Spicoli and just getting to know Spicoli and loving him as a preteen, and then growing up and watching Sean Penn do these incredible films like At Close Range and Colors and so on, Casualties of War. I mean, you mentioned some great films there. I mean, he is just someone I grew up with. We've all grown up with, and we all adore. And you have to love his grittiness. You have to love it. And that croquet story was awesome too, Adam.
It's the silliest goddamn thing. Fucking croquet.
But I'm surprised that you felt that this film falls a little flat sometimes, because I think this is a really gritty movie. I really do. And I think that it segues a lot of shit that you see, a decade later that is so well done. Like, to me, a show like The Shield pays great homage to a movie like this all the time. When I watch a show like that, I think of Colors and how just where sometimes a movie, a really good movie makes the city, that it's shot in a character. And I think that Dennis Hopper does this with Los Angeles. You really, you get into the streets, you get into the dirt, you get into the grime. you get into the people that are just living there, that are lingering around and, witnessing this horror show on an everyday basis. So I think in that it is a pretty powerful film, to be honest with you. I really do. I've always loved this movie. I've seen this movie dozens of times. I mean,
Wow.
I've always been a fan of this film. I've watched it throughout my life. Probably a year or two goes by where I'll put it on at some point, whether I see it on cable or whatnot. But you know what, man? Watching it the other night, I mean, it was just a treat again, dude. I love this film. Penn Duval, Dennis Hopper directing.
It may just have been that I loved it so much and I had a certain sort of memory of it. And all these years later, it didn't match my memory of it, or it didn't hit me quite as powerfully. So it's not that I didn't like the film. It might have just been I let myself down, like I set myself up.
That happens. That totally happens. I mean, it definitely does. I would just like to go on record saying that I think this is a unique and powerful movie, and I think that it helped people outside of that world learn a little bit about that police and hoodlum relationship that is just usually told through the media. And I really like the fact that it was told through like the cops' point of view, which you rarely get, and how much of a struggle their job is. So I think Joe, I mean, are you surprised that Hopper, are you surprised at all that Hopper did this film?
No, I think that it probably falls in line with Hopper's sensibilities in the sense that what's the strength about this film is just what Adam was saying, and what you were saying was that he makes that city a character.
Right.
It's a really gritty film, and the locations are by far the best part about the film. Even though the actors are so revered and such great actors, the best part about the film, in my opinion, are the locations, because I think it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Actually, I think some of the dialogue was it suffers from having the formula of the buddy cop thing, and then it has some cartoonish stuff that doesn't ring true to me, even though I don't know what the fuck any of these what would be true about a gang thing, but I just sensed that it didn't seem very authentic to me. Like some of the portrayals of gang culture or some of the gangs or whatever, it just seemed a little cartoonish and caricature.
Well, let's get Tom in, because Tom was a law enforcement officer. How do you think Hopper handled the one, the buddy cop thing, and two, the police's perspective on what they're patrolling?
Okay, well, first of all, I'll tell you that Hopper, he employed many real gang members in that movie. And many of the officers being portrayed in that movie were officers. So there was a sense of credibility there. I was thrilled, excited beyond belief when I watched it, because it was the first show that actually got it right with the way they talked, with the way they communicated on the radio. Something as simple as a unit pulling up to another unit and one guy holding four fingers up.
Right.
Which means code 4, and code 4 means everything's okay. Nice. When you looked up at the air unit and held four fingers up, that they're code 4, they got a sense of realism that was never shown before. And I'm not here to pick holes in the different aspects of it, but I will tell you that you got to get out of today's mind frame and look what was happening in Los Angeles back in that time. And there were gangs called hybrid gangs. And that had to do with white flight in neighborhoods that were transitionary, that went from being white to Hispanic or Asian to black. So, there were hybrid gangs in Los Angeles at the time. They wasn't completely drawn across racial lines, but more so gangs were territorial. So some of these kids grew up together. So that part to me was not unbelievable, because I saw some of that. Even in my own city, I saw white kids in Mexican gangs because they grew up with them.
Wow.
The thing that I loved most about the movie was it was the very first time that they actually let people talk the way they talked. Okay, they showed gang signs. This stuff wasn't done before.
Right.
Now we see it now, right? So it's not a big deal, but back then it was enormous. And Crash, they had a motto: we intimidate those who intimidate others. And that was LA's response to the unraveling violence that was going on that I was talking about, last week, about the danger. And these guys' job was to know everything about the gangs in their communities. Turned out that they took a little bit more liberties than they should have. And, Crash was actually disbanded because of a huge scandal in the Rampart division with the Crash officer, but the Crash officers ended up placing, evidence on people, false charges. They basically became a gang within a gang, and they showed that. Okay, you got that feeling. When you saw Pac-Man out of control, that was based on the way some of these guys really operated. Now, they just took it and made him into a younger guy. But I had a friend of mine that actually was in 77th Division. That's where this supposedly took place. And he worked security on the film. He did security for Madonna. And he showed me some pictures of he and Madonna. And then he went to Venice on his days off and worked security. And they had, let me say this again, they had real Crips. They had real Bloods that they used. Hopper was all about realism. And there was a lot of tension on the scene. There's a scene in that movie where they pull up in front of a big sign that says white fence. Do you guys remember that? Where they pulled up to the Hispanic gang, white fence, and Hodges looks out the window and says, "Have you seen any gang members around here?" And the guy says, "Nah." Mm-hmm. Well, guys, the white fence gang back then was one of the largest gangs in Los Angeles. They were prominent. They were bad to the bone. They still are. And this isn't a day and age before we had all the illegals coming to Los Angeles, like MS-13s and the MS-18s. These gangs that are here now, it was different. They were homegrown, and this movie captured it. It nailed it. Now, does it stand the test of time? That's what Adam was talking about. And by today's standard, things have changed. So you're looking at saying, man, there can't be a mixed gang. Well, there was back then. There probably isn't now. The level of violence back then, it was like that. There were shootouts. Kids got killed in drive-bys. I'd say 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week.
That's insane.
Easily. I so remember that was just a daily thing on the news.
They captured that. They captured the horror of that. They captured the city I worked in was predominantly Hispanic. These guys were 5'6", 5'7", some of the baddest guys you ever want to meet. They could leap a building in a single bound. They were fast. But here's the one thing: they were stone cold killers. You could look in their eye and you can see it. All right. They captured that in this particular movie. They got the sense that, was it cartoonish? The shootout at the end, Don Cheadle, think of that big star, what he did back then. That shootout with him and Rocket. Okay. That maybe took a little bit of license. But the scene where the LA County sheriffs and the LA Police Department went in and they were doing the raid, that stuff happened all the time because gangs cross city lines, right? The LA County Sheriff patrolled one side, the LAPD. I was thrilled. I thought they nailed it, and I thought at the time Hopper was a genius, and I thought the relationship I thought the relationship with Hodges and Pac-Man was realistic because, there was a lot of kids coming out of the academy whose badges weighed way too much. And then to think about a young stud like Pac-Man getting on Crash and then taking it to the next level, and the old salty dogs who understood what was going on. You got to understand, Crash was new. So they took the experienced officers and put them on there, but then they also brought in, for lack of better words, they brought in the studs. They brought in some of the baddest guys they had. To deal with this particular problem. They had to fight fire with fire. Ended up burning the LAPD in a bad way. But this movie, and Max, you'll remember, when it came out, how much it impacted me. I think that's why you asked me to be on the show. You remember I was blown away by the realism of this show.
Huh.
Max, Tom is one of the best expert guests we've ever had.
I used to watch this movie with him.
Hey guys, you know what?
We would watch this together.
And I'll tell you something right now. And Joe and Adam, after listening to Tom, think about how little we know sometimes when we're watching a movie.
Yeah, I know.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Funny.
And we're critiquing and we're saying this and that about certain things, and then we have our opinions, and then Tom comes on and he tells us, "Hey, listen, guys, this is what's really going on here, and this is what Hopper and Duvall and Penn are trying to accomplish." And Joe, doesn't it just change the way you might look at it?
Yeah, well, of course, man. It makes me my opinion of it was completely off base on
your opinion is based on your experiences, right?
Yeah,
and Hopper tried to bring that across. Look, at the end of the movie, there was 2 betrayals. There was the betrayal with Pac-Man and his girlfriend. There was a betrayal there because she went back to who she is and he was who he is. But the betrayal, what happened in the jail setting there, where it was, when he misinterpreted the intel that got out, and since he had only told, Hodges, right there, that betrayal cost Hodges his life. And that's the kind of thing that I know is real. I know that these guys on the street had these relationships with these guys, that they counted on the intel. The intel was the most important thing to them. They had to know what was going on. So when Hopper caught that part too, I said, wow, not only did he get, okay, here, this is the life, this is what a life of a Crip gang, and there's no such thing as the Crip gang because there's so many different types of Crip gangs, but this was a Crip gang, which is right. Then at the very beginning, do you remember they showed how they had them mixed? They have segregated areas in the jail. They have a Crip section and they have a Blood section, and they don't mix them. And they showed that at the beginning. So it was like, dude, they got it right. And Hopper spent a long time before he did this. And so did Penn. Penn did a lot of ride-alongs in the 77th Division. And Adam, you talk about being a badass. That wasn't made public, but my buddy Bill Hagan, may he rest in peace, he told me about the times that Penn would go down there and ride along with these guys and be right in the middle of the shitstorm, right in the middle of it. So, Dennis Hopper is, in my mind, is a genius. And when he took on this movie, I knew it would be good, but I'm going to be 57. Okay. So we've had a lot come down the road since, but go back and do your due diligence and tell me a gang movie that came out before Colors that nailed it like that. It was almost like a documentary with a lot of artistic liberty. Yeah, I'll give you that much. But it was, it just hit it. It just hit it from just at the very end when Hodges got killed. Just that scene of those kids sitting around, drinking, smoking, fucking, doing what they were doing. I rolled up on those kind of scenes. That's realistic. A fire in a trash can up on a hill with that. The party scene with the guy that was wasted and standing there.
Yeah, it's a great moment.
Saw that kind of stuff all the time. So if you go,
I guess it's just that since the 80s and since when this came out, these characters have went on to become cliched and and something that's entered into sort of our the character types.
It's more
and stereotypes.
It's more than that. What it is now is that the characters out there are far more dangerous than they were back then. They're far more evil, and they're far more, it's a completely different animal today than it was back then. And keep in mind what I'm talking about. They're not getting a bunch of the hardcore criminals coming up from Central America that are coming, and they don't have the impact of the Mexican mafia like they do now, that controls a lot of, there's a lot of big business that goes on now. What you had back then was literally smaller territorial gangs that, Crips fought Crips. That it's a myth that they all got along. A Crip would kill a Crip in a heartbeat. So you went from territorial, hey, I love my audio, this is my neighborhood, to I'm protecting my business, which now is drug trafficking, prostitution, everything else you can imagine. So it's not the same. So when you do look at it now, it seems very simplistic and cartoonish, and
that's what it is.
Agree,
I think
because it doesn't reflect what's out there today. It doesn't reflect it at all. And if you think about the difference, okay, they don't have Crash anymore, but they have Metro at LAPD, and they have a SWAT team. So everything that Crash was doing, SWAT does now. And one thing, guys, that you don't know is my job that I do right now, my business, I still am in that world. I work with SWAT teams. I work with police departments all throughout the United States. And so I'm privy to some of the stuff that they're working with. And it's just a completely different animal. So if you watch this movie, and those of you who are listening, if you go back and you just try to put yourself at the time.
It's hard to do that though, because we have the experience of everything that's come after it, you know? So like even in some of those party scenes, it just rings a little like awkward, like when, you know, they're doing the breakdancing and stuff, and every time they talk, they're like ohms. It just seems like they're leaning on that,
but it's
on a character type.
But you know what? That's the way they talk.
I guess,
and they still talk like that today. Charlie Holmes, you know.
But it was like in this movie, it was like every time that one dude opened his mouth, it was like everything he said was ohms. You know what I mean? I don't know. It felt weird, but I mean, of course, I'm not.
You know, Tom, it's what the problem here is that Joe, he really doesn't like Latinos.
Well, you know what? I will tell you that they're formidable. They're formidable. They deserve the respect in the gang community. They're huge in Los Angeles. They're the oldest, probably organized street gangs that go way back to the Pachuco area, when they had the riots back in the 40s and 50s. They were very well organized, and there's several generations. But what started to happen is the OGs, the older gangsters, started getting killed off. And so they didn't have the moral compass. And I hate to use the word moral compass for that type of stuff, but there was a code of honor, okay, and that's all gone now. It's completely gone. It's anarchy. It's people, basically just running a business and killing whoever gets in their way. And but back then, this movie captured it. And
there's no code anymore.
No, there's not.
Yeah, I talked to a retired DEA agent who comes into the place where I work, and he was telling me, Tom, pretty much the same thing. He said, that the past 10 years, 10, 15 years, the game has changed out there. Where even, like, he said that in his business, it's like, police, him being an agent, like, and a criminal being a criminal, there was a time where there was a common respect between the two, that they appreciated each other's crafts in a sense.
Well, they knew each other.
Now it's different, that there's less respect for, on the criminal side, that they're he used the word, I don't want to, he used the word animals almost.
Well, it's again, it's like any society, right? You need to have elders that teach the young. And back then, like in our city, the OGs, they'd all end up going to prison, but they'd get out, right? And when they get out, they would take over and they would start to take their place back. Well, there's no leadership in a lot of these gangs anymore, because the older guys either are not getting out because of what they went to prison for, or they're getting killed. Now, what you see in Colors is the relationship Hodges has with those older gang members. Mm-hmm. Remember the guy whose brother threw the stone? He was up on the tree, hiding in the tree. That particular leadership is not as prevalent today as it used to be. And so when you don't have that kind of discipline, dude, and then you're a criminal to begin with. That's why cops are getting killed, and why it's a far more dangerous world now than it was back then. And then you add one other piece to the equation: the weaponry they have now is way more sophisticated than they had back then. It's bad.
Let's get Max to weigh in here on Colors. Adam brought up a point that I agree with Max, that despite the greatness of Herbie Hancock, this score just seems a little bit out of place. Do you think that takes away a little bit from the drama that's going on here? Because I felt that watching this movie, there were a couple scenes where I was like, man, if there was just a badass song or something just a little bit more frightening, so to say, it would work better. How did you feel about Herbie Hancock doing this movie?
Oh, I thought it was abysmal, and I agree with Adam. It ruined the film. But you know what, Tom? That's time, man. You know, it's a timely thing, and every time the scores showed up, it ruined the picture. But I really feel that Dennis Hopper is, and I'm really sorry he didn't make more films, because truly he's a visionary. This is the director of Easy Rider, and I felt that he immersed himself in this subculture like any method actor would in anything. And I felt that he lived it. And I remember watching this film with my stepdad over and over and over again. And Tom knew the streets. He knew what was going on, and he educated me, and he made the film more interesting. And in many ways, I find this film to be kind of a modern Western. It's like cowboys and Indians. You've got Penn and Duvall up against the Indians. I'm not trying to be racist here. I'm just saying I love the fact that Duvall's character had a real relationship with them. And I thought that was magical. And we haven't seen that since. Everyone is bashing cops. And I come from a family of cops. My stepdad was a former cop. My father was a cop. And every time I hear someone bashing cops, I get very upset. And I know there's a lot of situations where these cop killings are wrong and they don't use their judgment right. And I get upset. But at the same time, a lot of people don't understand the situation that the cops are in. And the respect I have for law enforcement is unpopular. And the respect I have for Tom as a former police officer and my father as a police officer is not popular. And that hurts me, because I really thought the best thing about this film is the relationship that Bobby Duvall has with the gangbangers. It is something so beautiful. He doesn't want to hurt them. He doesn't want to shoot them. He lets them go for petty shit. And I really think that that's because Dennis embedded himself in this culture. The culture of the cops and the culture of the gangs.
That you said that perfectly, Max. And I'll tell you where Hopper was so genius with this. Now, guys, put yourself in Pac-Man's shoes and all the bravado and all the bullshit he went through. But the world turned on him when he got blamed for a killing that he didn't do, right? Think about that. He had all this bravado, all this macho-ness, but then he got the rap on the street for killing the guy that he never killed. He didn't shoot that guy.
Right.
That was genius, because that was real, man. That was like he just took the heat, and nobody cared about facts, and nobody cared about whether it was true or not. And that's when his whole world turned upside down. And that's how quickly things can change out there. And Max nailed it. The relationship is what built these guys. I mean, we were in a small city. We had a relationship. We knew these guys. My wife worked on a corner in our city that was the most heavily trafficked drug corner in our city. Yet she worked for Head Start and took care of these kids, these gang members, little brothers and sisters. They never bothered anybody that worked where she did. They kind of looked out for them. And yet right across the street, we went into a house and there were dirty needles laying on the floor. So there was an understanding. Believe it or not, there were certain places that there was a kind of civility between the police and those who they supposedly were, policing against. The main job of Crash was intel and to know more about what was going on. And Hopper told that story by having Hodges be a sympathetic ear. It was again, not to repeat myself, but it was only when they felt that Hodges betrayed that everything turned upside down. I just think that there's so many subtleties there that really happen, that a guy like Hopper was the perfect guy to do it.
We're talking colors. We have former police officer Tom Payson with us. Max is programming. Really great stuff, Max. I got to tell you right off the bat, this is one of the best shows I think we've done in a while, dude. And, and I had a real blast watching these films, particularly this one. It's been with me since I was a kid. Obviously, you've been digging it for a long time as well. So that is just really great stuff. Hey, anybody have any final thoughts on Hopper or Penn, Duvall, colors before we
Tom?
move on? Yeah.
Robert Duvall's skull is amazing.
You think it's a work of
Yes.
of
I love Robert Duvall. I love him.
yeah.
And I'm really afraid.
Uh-oh.
What is it?
Talk it through. Bring
Talk
it through, Max.
Yeah.
You afraid we're going to lose him?
I'm still here. These. All right. We are losing talent in Hollywood. If you watched the Oscars last night, you'll see that it is all shit.
What I'm afraid too, Max, is that it's all gonna hit at once. You know, like in that 1 or 2 year span where, you know, these greats. You know, every generation goes through it, I guess, but you know, we're coming from. You know, we're watching guys that took, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. We're watching guys that took the art form of acting to a different level. You know, we're not, you know, talking about the old, you know, the pre 1970s film actors. We're talking about these guys that.
Well, guys who we grew up
And
with.
Absolutely. We're going to lose every one of them.
Nicholson,
It's
you
coming.
know, Max and I
feel
talked
like
about,
it's coming in a bad wave. is all
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I know. I think that's why you're getting upset because if you watched the Oscars recently, you know, last month, it was
Last night.
well to our listeners, it was last month.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
To our-
Tom, it was a wasteland. Tom, talent and cinematic values and going that edge and going that distance is over.
yeah.
This film couldn't be made today. Dennis Hopper's dead. Bob Duvall's skull is going to be rotting in the ground soon. And it's just, it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting to me.
There's a whole
as far as
generation.
cinematic art. Like, I don't know. It's just really, really, really upsetting.
we, you know, Max and I talked about it when the Academy Awards were on. The absence of Jack Nicholson tells you how the tide has turned. You used to watch the Oscars, and
Right.
Nicholson would be in the crowd, and there was always a sense, okay, you know, this is the Witches of Eastwick guy. This is Nicholson.
Front row every time.
Yeah, and I get where he's coming from, and you know, Duvall from the Godfather days, he can do no wrong. Pacino is my god. Okay, Michael Corleone is the greatest character ever to grace the screen, and I'll debate that with anybody. But Hopper, he took a risk, because think about who is going to pay money to see a movie about inner city gangs when those of us in the suburbs, and Adam, you can attest to this. That stuff was scary to those of you young guys who were in the valley, right? I mean, it was a reality.
Absolutely.
And it was scary. And so who's going to go spend money to see it? It was a risk. But what he did that was brilliant is not only did he bring in the cops, and he brought in, like Jeff said, the Indians and the Cowboys, but he brought in two heavyweights with Penn and Duvall. How could you not win with that, right? How could you not win with that?
Hey Max, I could hardly imagine Adam being worried about these Bloods and Crips. You know, I could just think to him, hey man,
Crips rolls right off.
Yeah.
Only when he went to the drive-in.
Sorry, listen, guys. I'm really embarrassed by getting emotional,
That's all right.
but it just kind of drives home the fact that, like, I don't know, that outsider art is over. Like, I haven't seen it. And Dennis Hopper was a guy who said, fuck it, I'm going to immerse myself with not only LA gangs, but the LAPD. I'm going to immerse myself. If you read about the making of this film, it's extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And any of these jerk off bearded fucking filmmakers today, God bless them. Maybe they do that, but I don't know. It's like I just miss the Dennis Hoppers of the world. And they built friendships with the cops and the gangbangers. There are real gangbangers in this film. It's not a bullshit film. Herbie Hancock's score is bullshit, but the film itself, it's not bullshit. They really put in real guys. There is an amazing scene, as you know, it's iconic, when the Bloods are already in prison and the Crips enter and they're flashing gang signs and Ice-T's Colors song is playing. That's real shit. Those are real gangbangers. Hopper chose to cast the real guys. You really got a look into that world. And it just doesn't happen anymore in movies. Yeah, it was like a reality film.
See, Joe, it's not cartoon.
Well, but
well,
Joseph,
listen,
but
but
today-
still, it
fucking
doesn't.
with
But it doesn't. It just doesn't stand the test of time.
Right.
Maybe not because of the filmmaking, but because of,
Perspective.
I guess, the gang culture
true.
itself.
You know what?
Because,
It's true.
because I mean, even that movie, even the song that you're talking about, Colors, it's terrible.
Colors.
I mean, back then, you know what? That's the perfect
Joe
example.
has a
actually.
roost head talking. Big B squawking. Next thing you know, and the big B squawking.
Hey, Joe,
You don't like that song?
next time we're hanging out, Colors is coming on, my man. Not the
But you know
movie.
what, Joe, Joe, you are
it's
100,
exactly
you're
it's- it's the
100% right.
It's the exact metaphor, because back when that song came out, it was a little shocking. It was brazen and it was immediate and potent and all that stuff. But you listen to it now and it's like, wow, that's that song. I really
just thought it'd be good to cry during the 101th.
the 101st episode. Hey guys, thanks a lot for talking Colors, man. It was great. Let's move on to Blood In, Blood Out. Taylor Hackford directs. And Joe, you get the opportunity to introduce this 3-hour picture. So let's get to the back end of the program, guys. Joe doing Blood In, Blood Out. Take the most dreadful 20 to 30 minutes of my entire life. I was harassed. I was bullied. I was kicked. I was kicked. I was destroyed on air by my co-hosts. And now this is when I really started.
Wait, by your co-host or co-host? Plural?
No, it was everybody except Adam, of course. Adam was fair.
Hey, man, I come out of it shiny clean. I may not remember if it's a theater or a drive-in, but no matter. I got a shit-eating grin and all is well.
Adam did nothing wrong.
Of course not. He never does.
But my other two co-hosts that day were digging into me so bad. Now, this is when it all started in my head, Joe, that I really don't know if I could do this anymore, if I could take this abuse anymore, if I could.
I don't even know what it was.
Abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse. And if you listen to it, I beg any of you to go onto YouTube, even our listeners, go onto YouTube and just get to the end of that discussion and listen to the pure torture I must endure by these.
What were we saying to? All right, this is
it's
going to
not
turn
about
into a
love,
therapy
Tom.
session. There's no way that this is going to turn into. Quickly, hurry up! Come on.
It was everything, Joe. It was.
What were we doing? What were we even
It was
talking about?
my life, my diet, my inability to take things on the show to another level. My just my whole
We
existence.
love you, and at the time we thought you lived life incorrectly.
It was.
Well, I know that you were struggling mightily with it, Tom, and I know that we've talked at length about a lot of this stuff.
And I can't do that all the time, guys. I can't do it. I
understand it, Tom, but
here and I can't get kicked.
Do you know that it's so difficult? It's so difficult being friends with somebody who can't take control of their own life.
Or see
How
the
it
potential
hurts.
that they
How
have.
it honestly, Tom. How it hurts. How it hurts to see it. To see it.
Well, what am I not taking control of exactly, Joe?
Well, your health is number one.
You don't give a
right?
shit.
And I
Health.
wouldn't talk about your health because I know that that's something you don't want to talk about.
You don't
But
give a
as far as I think you will say it's probably the number like 5 or 6 for me, and I have a fucking family. I mean, it's probably right up there with me for me. So if you're saying that it's not, I don't
What
think
I'm
you're being
struggling
honest.
with is
I
that
don't
I
think
don't-
I'm being honest with yourself.
I
Tom.
know I've been doing this for 4 years, and I don't know why it continues at this point.
Because I'm not because I care about you.
No, I'm just saying I don't know why I'm.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. It's continuing because I care about you.
I don't, I hear you, but like what I don't know if I
4 years ago, Tom, you said let's do a podcast, and I knew that you would like to do a podcast, and I knew that I would enjoy it as well. And I said, I'll edit the first 3 or 4 shows. Producing the show is not something that I'm interested in.
I thought you said 300 or 400.
What?
I thought you said the first 300 or 400 episodes.
Oh, 3, right. So now I gave you a lot. I've been practically begging you to take control of it, and even saying that I would give it still continue to do half of what the show is. That's why we're like this season is hobbling along on half of what it should be, and I think that everybody here, with the exception of maybe Lieutenant Payson here, thinks that this show deserves to be more than hobbling along.
All right, Joe. What do you want me to say, Joe? I just don't know if I feel like doing it anymore, though.
And I think that is a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out.
It's a cop-out because you don't think that you can take control.
I just find myself not having as much fun as I used to doing.
Do some thinking on it, Tom, and you're the only one who can
really
really
answer. I am doing thinking. I am thinking a lot about it.
Okay.
I am.
All right. Then if you don't want to do it, then I guess we'll stop. You're the host.
Right,
so.
right. Well, I'm thinking about all those things. I am.
Okay. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face, man. Don't.
It's not like that, Joe.
Okay.
It's just a matter of personally whether I'm enjoying it. Doing even this. I don't know.
That last segment, though, see, when we're not talking about your issues.
Hey, everyone, you're listening to episode 101 of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. As always, as usual, I'm your host, Tom Detloff. Tonight, back with me is Joe Christiana, Max Cook, and the counselor, Adam Shoulder. Tom Payson is also back with us, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Tonight, we're going to discuss Dennis Hopper's film Colors and Taylor Hackford's Blood In, Blood Out, all part of our 2-episode Bloods, Crips, and Vatos. Vatos, Max.
Galino Udale, bitch, motherfucker. Fucking Tom Detloff shit. Pull his white panties down and look inside and see what he's done down there, bitch.
I feel like I'm in the kitchen at work.
Tom Detloff life cereal at midnight, motherfucker. Stop eating that shit, bitch. Stop smoking, homie.
Para siempre.
Trinidad Silva, motherfucker.
Oh, man. Anyway, we're still doing our post 100 episode celebration. Guys, it was great talking to everyone about their favorite moments from the past 100 episodes. Tonight, we're definitely going to go a little bit south like we do here on the show sometimes. We're going to talk about our least favorite moment of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. And Joe, do you want me to kick things off or what, dude? I mean, should I?
It's your call.
I have a feeling I'm going to kick it off, and then
ahead.
it's just going to be a Tom Detloff discussion for 30 minutes.
Uh-oh. You better choose wisely then.
All right, stand back. Without a doubt, my least favorite moment on this show was recently, and it was probably the last 20 to 25 minutes of our Ex Machina discussion. This was the most...
I don't even know what it was.
Listen, I'm going to tell everybody. It was...
As far as I'm concerned, the show is fair game on the show. Like, we should be talking about the show on the show. There's no reason why not to.
Whatever.
So, like, your health and your financial situation, whatever, I would definitely stay away from that if you didn't want to talk about it. The problem is that you don't shut it down. You talk about it. So I let Max lead on that. I mean, I giggle.
I don't talk about it. I answer questions.
You're answering questions. Yeah, you're answering questions. But that said, it hurts me. Here's the position that you. Here's this. Here's and
I don't even know what he's going to say.
I'm being completely sincere, Tom.
Did you just hear that? This is what I'm talking about.
I know.
You're like, Tom, I'm hurt by this, and Max is like, I'm hurt by it too. He doesn't even know what you're going to say.
No, well, of course not. He's a kangaroo lawyer. All right. So honestly, Tom, I know in my heart how much this show means to you, and this is important to be talking about right here at the 100th episode, right? And I know that if it goes away, you are not going to be happy, and I know that not only that, but it's going to make me unhappy. So like, it's very difficult seeing you not taking it under control, like not owning it and being in control of your own destiny.
Jesus, Tom.
Basically, Tom, it's not that hard. But after 4 years, I can only speak for myself. If something was really important for me, I would not want anybody.
But how do you know how
it in the hands of anybody? I would do whatever it needed to be. That if something was really important to me, that it would be in my hands as much as I could possibly make it. So you've put me in the position of being responsible for the thing that's probably number one or number two or number three in importance in your life. So if I let it go, I'm failing you. Do you understand the burden that you're placing on me?
It's not even about that. It's just about the.
It is about that, Tom. Listen, it is about that. Because it's about it for me.
For you, yeah.
Yes. So what is it about?
You're saying that this is like, like number one or number two or number three on my list. I don't even think it might not even be that way anymore.
You don't. Yeah, I think that it is. And if you're honest with yourself, I can understand you not liking this right now. I totally would understand that. Absolutely. And I wouldn't have brought it up if it came up. So there's no reason, there's no way that we can't talk about these things, like, honestly, when they come up, right? I mean, that's the nature of the show. So I apologize because I don't want to talk about things that you're not comfortable talking about.
So I'm assuming that your least favorite TCRMP moment is the fact that you're still editing the show.
My least favorite is telling you that, I'm going to edit this show until the end of September, saying this last summer. Right. And knowing for a fact that it kills me that for whatever block you have, you're not going to allow yourself to take control of it. And it's going to fail and go away. And that is maybe my least favorite moment. And I gave you, I'm trying to give you every tool that you can to do it.
But I just, in my life right now, I have like bigger problems than worrying about all this right now. Like I do. And I know you do too. I hear you.
These are a lot. That's a lot of excuses, Tom.
Your thinking is so fucked, Tom.
It's so fucked.
Insulting. Dude. This should be your salvage. This should be your salvation and your joy. Even if we take you on about all of your fucking bullshit. The fact that this is not your go-to happiness. How much fun we're having. A bunch of fuckers sitting around on Skype jibber jabbering about movies in our lives, that you would shit on this. This is salvation for you, man.
Not only that, dude, Tom, if you were to take these steps, and I promise you they're not as big steps as you're thinking that they are. If you would take these steps, you would turn your whole perspective about everything around. Like everything would change. Because you wouldn't have to worry about if I'm being a dick and don't feel like putting out the show or not.
I don't worry about that.
Well, that's a little insulting too. That you just assume that I gotta continue
Tommy can be a little insulting.
No, but he's saying that I'm not.
But
he's assuming that I'm worrying about something that I'm not worried about. Like,
so you wouldn't care if I just one day decided that
what could I do if
Tom? Joe recently reached out.
We're telling you what you could do.
Joe recently reached out to you.